but when we return, we'll discuss clinical hypnosis to treat anxiety on The Tonic. A healthy lifestyle isn't just about staying active or eating right. It's also about making smart choices to save money and help the environment. When you sign up for Peak Perks from Save On Energy, your smart thermostat may make small automatic adjustments on some hot summer days so it uses less energy. Not only does this keep your home comfortable, but it also helps the environment by reducing stress on the electricity system. Join over 230,000 homes already making a difference and get $75 when you sign up, plus $20 every year you stay on the program. Saving energy for a healthier, greener future and getting rewarded for it. Sounds like a win. Sign up today at saveonenergy.ca/peakperks.
Welcome back to The Tonic, your prescription for a healthier and happier life. Here's your host and publisher of the Tonic newsletter, Jamie Bussin.
Known as the hypnotist who gets results, Luke Howard is the founder of Lukenosis Hypnotherapy, with locations in Toronto and Ottawa. 20 years of experience and an international reputation for rapid change work, he's helped thousands of Canadians overcome challenges and take back control of their lives, whether it's anxiety, addiction, or emotional pain. His unique approach delivers fast, lasting results without medication or long-term therapy. And if you're interested, you can learn more at www.lukenosis.com. Welcome to the show, Luke. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jamie. Great for being on the show. Thank you.
So, I suppose, with COVID and everything that's gone on, pretty much every moment in the last 5 years feels like it's stressful. But I think, just with what's going on with the great orange one down south and the state of the world today, I think there's just a lot of people feeling very anxious and stressed out. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I'm noticing, especially at the moment, anxiety's gone up. And since COVID, social anxiety with the social distancing, medical anxiety has gone through the roof. And basically people for a long time, although we've been back in the real world, whatever that is, for the last couple of years, a lot of us were shut inside for like a nice sum of time. So that affected our relationships, that affected our vitamin D, not getting enough sun and social interaction, and we regressed a little bit socially. So, yeah, seeing a lot of people that are still suffering from the remnants of that.
But you're here to help today. So you're a hypnotherapist. For those who don't know, can you define what hypnosis means to you and what hypnotherapy is?
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to define, right? And I've been doing this for 25 years. However, the best definition that I've got for it that kind of explains how it works to me and how I explain it to my clients is this. Hypnosis, it isn't really about relaxation or trance. It's about imagining things differently and conditioning through repetition. It's active, not passive. And you are actively imagining how you want to respond and conditioning it over and over again.
So how does it actually work? Like, how does it work on our brains?
Yeah, so most people, when you're walking around, when you're having a conversation like this, you're accessing a alpha brainwave, which means you're quite active, right? It's also plugged into your conscious mind, so your logical mind. However, when I do hypnosis with people, I tend to drop them into a delta brainwave, which if we plugged you into a brain monitor, you would start to see that the brainwave would drop. And delta is the brainwave that's just above sleep, because we don't want you to be sleeping in hypnosis. A lot of people think, well, hypnosis is sleep, because you keep saying sleep all the time. But hypnotic sleep and real sleep are very, very different. In hypnotic sleep, which would be just above the delta brainwave of real sleep, it enables us to start giving you suggestions. But these suggestions are positive things for the results that you want. So say you want to quit smoking, it would be you are a happy, healthy non-smoker. If it's you want to stop having panic attacks 3 times a day and 4 times on a Friday, then it's about actively giving you suggestions where you feel safe, where you feel protected the whole time. And when we're giving those suggestions to you in a delta brainwave, they're not being resisted anymore. Your conscious mind isn't saying, well, these are just bloody words. is just saying words to me. How are they going to help me when I'm walking down the street and someone gives me the side eye, or someone I feel is judging me? When you're in hypnosis, all those thoughts, that voice in the back of the head, that judgmental voice, that conscious voice, it is muted to a high degree. So all the suggestions we're giving you go directly in there. And every problem you've ever had, especially when it comes to anxiety, you've already been hypnotized. Most people are like, Luke, what do you mean? Does hypnosis work? I'm like, well, you've been doing this thing called anxiety for 20 years, unconsciously. I don't suggest you've been sitting around your coffee table saying, well, every Tuesday at 2 p.m., I'm going to have a panic attack. That's not what I'm saying. However, most people that I've worked with over 25 years of doing this can do anxiety just like that as he clicks his fingers. They can sit at home, be seemingly safe and protected. However, they can have a panic attack, or they can start to ruminate with these negative thoughts. So oftentimes the work I'm doing is about unhypnotizing people to their automatic responses they've had to thoughts, generally imaginary thoughts, because anxiety always lives in the future. I mean, you feel it now, but it's about something that's going to happen an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now, and you'll start to have, I call it a waste of your imagination. You're imagining very quickly, unconsciously, all the worst things that could happen when you take the flight tomorrow, when you give the big meeting, when you go on that date, which starts to flood your body with a bunch of adrenaline and a bunch of cortisol. And in your unconscious mind, the part of the mind that's pulling all the strings, the body, it starts to steer you towards that direction, because your unconscious, your subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between something that's real and something you vividly imagined. So if you've vividly imagined things going horribly wrong and you've had that chemical dump inside your body, it believes it's right. Much in the same way as if the athlete, like a Tiger Woods, will in his mind practice that winning shot at the PGA Golf Open 10,000 times, or Wayne Gretzky, because we're in Canada, right? He practices that shot of winning a Stanley Cup 20,000 times in his mind. He's just using a form of hypnosis, but he's using it a positive way. He's harnessing his imagination in a positive way, as opposed to allowing the imagination to run amok and to run over all the things that he wants. If that kind of makes sense.
It does. So in your work, are you trying to cancel out the noise of the alpha wave? Or are you trying to augment the delta wave, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, good question. So really what I'm trying to do is help I call it taking the red flags out of people's thinking. So specifically, we're talking a little bit about anxiety here. And how I think about anxiety is something happened in your life, good or bad. Your unconscious, your subconscious mind, that's just the emotional part of the mind. It drops a red flag in a thought. For an example, let's say I'm working with someone who's got social anxiety. One time they walked down the street and someone gave them an evil eye, and then they attacked them. All right, so it's a traumatic experience. Now, every time they see someone give them the evil eye, or the crook eye, or give them a weird look, without them consciously thinking about it, their unconscious, their subconscious mind wants to protect them. So it's dropped the red flag that if someone looks at me when I'm walking down the street, I'm in danger. So their fight or flight response, that's controlled by the amygdala, prefrontal cortex on the brain, is beating really, really fast. So really my job is to take that red flag out of their thinking and get them to get, not on a conscious, logical level, which most of my clients already get, they're really smart people, but on an emotional level, that people can look at you and it doesn't mean that you are going to get attacked. People can look at you in a weird way, people can look at you in a flirtatious way, but none of it means that you're going to get attacked. So a part of what I do is any thought that you have is just a thought. The emotions that you're attaching to it are the emotions you're attaching to it. It's not actually really what's going to happen. But again, most people understand that logically, but it's about them getting that in their body, because the anxiety is stored in their body, not in their brain.
You know, the language that you're using and the explanations that you're giving are very much akin to mindfulness, right? You're trying to stop people to cue to what they're fearing in the future, and just be present in the moment, understanding that the future may or may not happen. Ergo, like there's no reason to be upset about it, and allow that anxiety to sit in your body. Do you feel that way? Like, do you see yourself as doing mindfulness work?
Everything is the same. And what I mean by that is for the last 25 years, I've done the best job I could of stealing. I mean, borrowing and mirroring the best hypnotists, the best counselors, the best psychotherapists, the best performers, the best yogis, the best meditation teachers to find out what works. Because although I call myself a hypnotist and I've spent well over 100 grand learning this stuff, and I've got, I don't know, last time I counted 57 certificates on my wall, I'm stealing. I mean, I'm using whatever works. So if I'm working with a chiropractor and I get a good bit, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that verbal bit, that imaginary bit, or that little light touch there, and I'm going to start using that with my clients because it works. And I only care what works. I don't care if it comes from watching a great method actor or it comes from another hypnotist. If it works, I'm going to use it with my clients. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to discard it, to quote Bruce Lee.
So are there any dangers or risks in hypnotherapy when you're dealing with somebody who has anxiety?
I often get this question, right? And it's like, oh my God, Luke, because I do all my sessions over Zoom. And I've done even before COVID started, used to have a couple of offices, but now it's mostly over Zoom. And people are like, look, what happens if in the middle of the hypnosis, the Zoom link goes down, the internet connection breaks, and I'm stuck in trance and you can't get back to me? I say trance would be a fine thing. If you could get stuck in this trance, it's like getting stuck in a beautiful, blissful flow state that you don't want to stop. But unfortunately, at some point, you're going to need to go to the bathroom. So you open your eyes, you go to the bathroom, and the trance will be broken. Meaning, we're just using your imagination, okay? And in hypnosis, we're just tuning into, tapping into your imagination. That's it. So there's no harm that can happen because it's just words. However, oftentimes the fear of something bad happens comes from stories that people have heard that from in the 1980s, and there's many books written on this. Psychiatrists would regress people, and the psychiatrist would have less than 2 weeks of training. Traditionally, psychiatrists have less than 2 weeks of training in hypnosis, and they would regress them, and the psychiatrist would ask leading questions to the client. The client might come in to stop smoking or overcome anxiety, but the psychiatrist, and there's like lots of books written on this, would start to imply that there was some kind of abuse, sexual abuse that happened when they were children, even though the client this was not the reported issue, none of this. And then suddenly the clients would wake up and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize, but Uncle Howdy abused me when I was little. And it turned out that Uncle Howdy didn't even exist. Or Uncle Howdy had died before the person was born, or Uncle Howdy, there was no possible way that he could have abused the person. So literally hundreds of clients sued the different psychiatrists in America in the 80s for false memory imprinting. They weren't abused. There was nothing wrong, but they started to ask leading questions. So that's often where people's fear comes. Well, what if you drop me in a memory that I don't want, or bad stuff comes up, or false memories come up? So we must always be sure that we're not leading people. And a lot of the trance work, hypnosis work I do with people is I call it content free, meaning I don't even need to know what the memory is that's popping up in my client's head, because oftentimes there's a great deal of shame and guilt that's linked to certain memories, and they don't want to say it out loud. But as long as my client can access the emotion or the memory, they can heal it. And all I need to know is just be able to guide them through it. But I don't necessarily need to even know what's going on, which keeps me safe and keeps them safe and the work clean.
Fantastic. Well, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all my wonderful guests, Dr. Dashiell and Ava, Chris Hednagi, Dr. Carol Osborne, and Luke Michael Howard. And thank you all for listening to The Tonic. You can listen or download this episode as a podcast with full show notes, contact information for our guests, and links at thetonic.ca.